Well, hello. Imagine if I told you that the secret to melting stubborn belly fat wasn't found in expensive supplements, extreme workouts, or restrictive diets, but in three simple, affordable foods you can add to your daily routine starting from today. Imagine if these foods not only torched fat while you slept, but also balanced your hormones, boosted your energy, and improved your digestion. They're backed by decades of scientific research. And imagine if the cultures that consumed these foods daily had some of the lowest obesity rates and longest lifespans in the world. Well, you don't have to imagine anymore, guys. Hey, beautiful listeners, welcome back to the Metabolic Alchemist. I'm Carly Gallagher, and today I'm spilling the tea, literally, on my absolute 3 daily weight loss weapons that have not only transformed my own journey, but helped shed stubborn weight loss as well. They're simple, accessible, and you can start from today. And we're talking about green tea, ginger, and sauerkraut. Sounds like an odd joke. Imagine if green tea, ginger, and sauerkraut were sitting in a bar. Anyway, that's another joke for another day. I know, sauerkraut, trust me, by the time this episode is over, you'll be adding it to your shopping list if it's not already there already. Okay, let's start with my absolute favorite green tea. Now, I don't just sip on this for cozy vibes or a matcha love ritual. No. The research behind green tea goes far beyond weight loss. We're talking about one of the most potent anti-cancer, anti-aging compounds on the planet. And it's no coincidence that those Asian cultures, particularly Japan and China, have some of the longest lifespans and lowest obesity rates in the world. I always joke that even sumo wrestlers aren't allowed to drink green tea because of its weight loss benefits. So, seriously, let's look at the Japanese and Chinese cultures. They drink a lot of green tea, 5 to 8 even cups of green tea a day. And their rates of cancer, heart disease, and metabolic syndrome are dramatically lower than Western populations. EGCG, epigallagocatechin gallate. I know, it's a mouthful, and I don't even think I pronounced that right. But it's the superstar compound in green tea, and it's been studied for 30 or more years for its anti-cancer properties in particular. These laboratory studies show that EGCG can stop cancer cells from growing during initiation, promotion, and the progression stages. I know it's really ridiculous, isn't it, that this isn't more known. It works through both antioxidant and pro-oxidant mechanisms. Essentially, it's smart enough to protect healthy cells while inducing cell death in cancer cells. How smart is that? Anyway, this research that I came across compared 10 major green tea polyphenols, found that EGCG showed the most anti-proliferative effect against colorectal cancer cells, even more potent than the chemotherapy drug 5-fluorouracil. That sounds scary. I would rather drink green tea. Anyway, but here's what really gets me excited about green tea for women over 40 in particular. These studies show it may also reduce dementia, high blood pressure, cardiovascular disease, and all-cause mortality. I don't even know what that means. Does it mean that it stops everyone from dying? Imagine if we could be like Buddha and never die. Anyway, I'm getting off track. Let's talk about weight loss and green tea. A study in 2024 with women who had central obesity fat found that after 12 weeks of high dose green tea extract, They had significant weight loss, reduced waist circumference, decreased cholesterol levels, and improved hormone profiles. Specifically, that hormone called ghrelin. I can never say that right. Ghrelin. I just call it gremlin. The one that is the hunger hormone. A Penn State study found that these mice that they fed on green tea extract, they had a 27% reduction in body fat and a 36% reduction in abdominal fat, plus a 17% reduction in fasting blood glucose levels and a 65% decrease in insulin resistance. Now, I know we're not mice, but hey, these mice were fit after having this green tea. They're sitting around drinking cups of green tea like no one's watching. No, seriously, they didn't get green tea to drink. Magic number, I estimate to be around 5 to 6 cups a day for the full benefit. So if you want to get the benefit of the mice, you want to be drinking about 5 to 6 cups a day to unlock this full potential of green tea. Now, I know that sounds a lot, but once you get into it, it actually is not that bad. So the multiple metadata analysis confirmed that catechins specifically and significantly decrease body weight and help maintain weight after a period of weight loss just by drinking green tea. And that is why I created my own green tea at Inner Alchemy. It's called Lakshmi, and this combines not only green tea, but gymnema, hibiscus, and licorice root. You can read all about it on my website, but it's going to tame that stubborn belly fat, rev up your metabolism, taste amazing, hot and cold, and it'll make you want to drink 5 to 6 cups a day of it, I bet you. Now, let's get on to my second daily weapon, ladies, ginger. This spicy little root, it's like nature's thermogenic supplement, but it's also powerful with our thyroids too. Not only our thyroid, but it's a mega digestive enhancer. This little root, it does way beyond what you think it's doing, just in food in general. Here is something that most people don't know about ginger. It has remarkable effects on the thyroid function, particularly for women with low thyroid function. A recent randomized control study gave hypothyroid patients 500 milligrams of ginger twice a day for 30 days. And the results? Well, significant improvements in weight loss, cold tolerance, constipation, dry skin, memory loss, and not feeling dizzy. You know, those dizzy spells that you get when your thyroid's a bit out of whack? They were all improved. Super impressive, right? Ginger supplementation led to a significant decrease in TSH, fasting blood sugar, triglycerides, and total cholesterol levels for women. And so if you're over 40 dealing with sluggish thyroid function, this is going to be huge and a game changer for you. The anti-inflammatory and antioxidant properties of ginger appear to also support optimal thyroid function, production, and also metabolism, especially if you have autoimmune thyroiditis. So Hashimoto's, Graves, ginger is going to be one of your best friends. Now, here's where ginger also shines for women over 40 just in general. It's what we call a prokinetic. Now, a prokinetic is literally something that gets things moving downstairs in your digestive tract. It's literally squeezing your bowels. And studies show that ginger contains this active constituent called gingerols and shogols that accelerate the gastric emptying and stimulate gastric contractions through the activity on the cholinergic receptors and serotoninogenic receptors as well. I know we're getting into chemical function here. Translation: if you're still struggling with constipation, bloating, or a sluggish digestion, then ginger is also going to be your best friend too. And let's go a bit deeper. More research on ginger showed that in 14 studies with 473 subjects, the supplementation of ginger significantly decreased body weight as well. Waist to hip ratio, fasting glucose and insulin resistance, whilst increasing high density cholesterol levels. That's the good cholesterol, guys. Actually, all cholesterol is good. But before I go, here's some other really interesting research on ginger. In animal studies, I know, but it showed that it literally remodels your entire energy metabolism through something called browning of white fat tissue. Essentially, that's turning your stored fat into fat burning fat. If there was a difference between fats, then now you know it. Now, if animal studies can do that, then human studies also confirmed that drinking ginger tea increases your energy expenditure by an average of 95 calories per day within just 4 hours of drinking ginger tea. That's like getting an extra 15-minute walk in without leaving your chair. I am all up for that. Now, in traditional medicine, ginger is known for increasing digestive fire, and modern research proves that it isn't just folklore. And that means for women dealing with low stomach acid, which is very common in over 40 women, poor digestion leads to bloated, feeling full after meals, uh, nutrient deficiencies because we can't digest the food and assimilate it. So ginger literally lights up your digestive system. It enhances the heat within the food, helps the entire process go from yo to woe. Is that even a word? I don't know. So research says about 2 grams a day is about the sweet spot. Now, 2 grams is about like a thumb-sized piece of ginger root, or about a teaspoon of dried ginger powder or ginger root. Now, my thumb is about that big. But your thumb might be bigger. I don't know. But look, just get a ginger root, chop off one of the ends of it, just get a bit of it, grate it up, add it to your food, add it to your day in your teas, green teas. Literally get your ginger in any which way you can, because you know it's going to help you with fat loss, gut digestion, the whole kit and caboodle. Right. Now let's move on from ginger to my third daily weapon, and this might surprise you: sauerkraut. I know what you're thinking. Yes, I'm absolutely serious. And here's why this fermented cabbage deserves a place on every plate every single day, especially when we talk about butyrate production. Now, if you listen to my Ozempic Heist podcast the other week, you'll know all about butyrate. That's the incredible short-chain fatty acid that is like your body's natural GLP-1 antagonist. Well, guess what? Sauerkraut is one of the most effective ways to boost butyrate production in your gut. And when the beneficial bacteria in sauerkraut colonize your intestines, they ferment the prebiotic fibers and produce butyrate. That then means you don't have to be on Ozempic. How handy is that? Super cheap too. Who knew cabbage had so many levels to it? This powerhouse molecule helps reduce inflammation and insulin resistance, increase fat oxidation, literally helps you burn fat, improves satiety signaling, you will feel fuller sooner, and also support the gut barrier function. It literally acts as fuel for your intestinal cells. Now, recent studies show that fermented foods can increase short-chain fatty acid production, which I just mentioned, specifically butyrate in the gut. And this is why sauerkraut isn't about a probiotic. It's actually about creating the right environment for your own beneficial bacteria to thrive and produce those metabolic powerhouses. Now, fresh versus shelf stable. I know, let me clear up this confusion. And I know it's confusing, but here's the bottom line. Fresh sauerkraut, that's the one you get in the fridge, is better, and here's why. Direct delivery of 28 plus probiotic strains to your gut, active fermentation metabolites, natural enzymes that help your digestion, and maximum butyrate production capacity. But shelf-stable sauerkraut still has some benefits. The fermentation metabolites still survive the heating process. So those metabolites can still feed your existing good bacteria, and it will still promote short-chain fatty acid production in your gut. And it's also better than not having a fermented product at all in your diet. But there's a bit of a caveat to that. Many of the shelf-stable sauerkraut products are actually just pickled cabbage with vinegar, sugar, and preservatives. They're not even fermented. So always check your label and avoid anything that's got added sugars, vinegar, sodium benzoate, or other preservatives, additives, flavors, or whatnot. Basically, it's safe to stick to obviously something that you make yourself, or to the refrigerated ones, which they are everywhere these days. They're naturally fermented and they're usually in the cold section of your health food store or supermarket. So look for the bubbles in the liquid, and the ingredients will just be cabbage or another vegetable, salt, and maybe some spices. So sauerkraut's low calorie, high fiber, and high probiotic content creates the perfect storm for weight management. It's not just about calories, it's actually about fixing your gut dysfunction, and that keeps us from losing weight quite clearly. Research shows an unhealthy gut microbiome can increase hunger and cravings, can increase inflammation that leads to insulin resistance, decreases butyrate production, which we obviously want because that's going to help us lose weight, right? It also impairs nutrient absorption, which means we get more nutrient deficiencies, and it can then disrupt hormone signaling. So it's almost like we're adding it as a supplement, right? Clinical experience suggests that even small amounts of sauerkraut, 1 to 2 tablespoons a day, can have a profound impact on your gut health. You can feel it for yourself. You know, people report better digestion, less constipation, and improved energy levels. So, shopping tips for buying your sauerkraut. Look for it in the refrigerator section. Check the label for naturally fermented or raw. Avoid anything that's got vinegar, sugar, or any type of preservatives in there. Usually, when you open it, it will make a pop. My favorites are always go local because why not? Support your local, but you can also make it for yourself. Just Google how to make sauerkraut. I'm sure there's a gazillion recipes there for you to explore. Make it with your kids. Sauerkraut will address those perimenopause and menopausal issues at a foundational level by restoring the gut balance, reducing inflammation, and optimizing the production of metabolites that support our metabolism and hormone function. So, here's what I find absolutely fascinating about these 3 foods. They work better when they're together. A bit like, is that a friend thing? Maybe we work better when we're together. We do, right? It's like creating the perfect storm for metabolic health, specifically designed for unique challenges that we women after 40 face. Green tea is a powerful antioxidant. It revs up your metabolism, offers anti-cancer benefits, and that becomes pretty important as we age. Ginger, well, it supports our thyroid function, improves digestion, is a natural prokinetic for gut motility, and it also helps create thermogenic fat burning. And then lastly, sauerkraut optimizes your gut microbiome for better nutrient absorption. It helps with that short chain fatty acid production, especially butyrate, and it helps reduce inflammation. When your gut is producing all these optimal levels of butyrate, thanks to sauerkraut, your cells become more sensitive to insulin. When your thyroid is supported, thanks to ginger, your metabolism is running more effectively. And when your cells are protected from oxidative stress and inflammation, thanks to green tea and sauerkraut, your hormones can communicate more effectively. It's a beautiful cascade effect that addresses the root cause of all weight gain after 40, not just the symptoms. Who would have known? Yay. All right, so let's get down to the nitty-gritty about why this combination is especially powerful for navigating perimenopause and menopause. Because during this transition, we have this declining estrogen and progesterone. Okay, and this affects our insulin sensitivity. I talk about this in my other podcasts around how insulin sensitivity contributes to that fat distribution around our middle. And green teas, e.g., CGs, help maintain insulin sensitivity whilst supporting lean body mass. So it's going to be a win-win for us, menopausal women. Now, when we're going through this transition as well, we have increased inflammatory markers. Chronic inflammation disrupts your hormone signaling, guys. I cannot tell you. Inflammation is a driver for all dis-ease, especially metabolic dysfunction. And all three of those foods are potent anti-inflammatories and they work on different pathways. So you get more bang for buck. One of the most common thing I see with women going through a menopause transition is a slowing down of our gut motility. And that lowering of estrogen affects our digestive system, but so does our thyroid. Our thyroid starts to slow, and that impacts our gallbladder function, which then slows down our digestion as well. And that can lead to constipation, poor nutrient absorption, bloating, gas, feeling full. And that potent prokinetic function in ginger helps address that, while the sauerkraut provides beneficial bacteria needed for optimal digestion. We often have this compromised gut barrier, function. It's called a leaky gut. Stress, aging, hormone changes, exposure to inflammatory foods in our diet and our environment, it all leads to increased intestinal permeability. And this is what we call this leaky gut, right? So we don't want everything going into our bloodstream. We don't want it to be permeable. We only want the good things to be able to get through and not all things, right? So we need to tighten up these gut junctions. We need to fix our leaky bucket. And sauerkraut's butyrate production especially is important for strengthening that gut barrier. And what about our energy levels? Well, all of our energy comes from our cellular powerhouses. This is the mitochondrial, process within every single cell in our body. Now, green tea helps support this mitochondrial function, and ginger activates one of the pathways that improves the production of cellular energy as well. So energy production is going to be improved through ginger and green tea consumption also. Win-win. Now, the biggest wobble, I call it the wobble because, hey, everything gets shut down if we don't fix this wobble, and it's our stress wobble. We've got a HPA axis, and this essentially is the axis between our hypothalamus, our pituitary gland, and our adrenal glands. And when they become dysregulated with age, hormone changes, chronic stress, chronic cortisol elevation, we start to get a wobble in our metabolism. It will turn off our metabolism. Now, green tea contains something called L-theanine. It's an amino acid, and it produces and promotes this alpha brainwave state, and that reduces our cortisol response to stress. Isn't that amazing? The catechins also modulate our sympathetic nervous system, so it helps manage that fight-flight response. Who would have known that green tea is actually great for stress as well? We often look at chamomile for that, but green tea is going to be important for managing that stress response. Ginger also has this powerful anti-inflammatory compound, which I talked about, which is a major disruption to this HPA axis. And if there's inflammation, like I said before, it's a major issue with regards to our metabolism. So when we decrease inflammation through the use of sauerkraut and ginger, we actually then can allow our normal stress response to be maintained. So we're taking out some of the things that are filling up your stress bucket by using anti-inflammatory compounds in ginger and sauerkraut. And the other good thing about sauerkraut is it works with our gut-brain axis. So all of those healthy neurotransmitters for sleep, calming, happiness, all of those are produced in the gut and connect to our brain. And if we have this powerful gut function, we're going to have a better mood balance. Plus, butyrate is also been shown to reduce stress-induced cortisol elevation as well. So lucky you sauerkraut eaters out there. Now, let's talk about the right way to implement these, because some of it is all down to timing. Now, if any of you have had green tea on an empty stomach and then gone for the spew bag, well, that's because green tea is astringent. So don't drink green tea on an empty stomach. I have done that 100 times, and my husband says, why do you do this to yourself? And I was like, I don't know, because I forgot. I just went for the green tea on an empty stomach instead of going, I need to eat first. So always drink green tea throughout the day after a meal so that you don't end up feeling nauseous all day. Try not to drink green tea after 3 p.m. Firstly, you don't want to be going to the toilet all night. And secondly, it does contain a bit of caffeine and we still want to get our sleep in. I will refer you back to the sleep podcast episode where I talk about the hours before midnight being more important than the hours after midnight for weight loss. So we don't want to impact our sleep onset. That's our getting to sleep time. So make sure that you drink it within daylight hours and with food. If you're new to fermented foods, then you're probably not going to go for a straight, massive heaped tablespoon of sauerkraut. Start small. Start with just the juice or even just a teaspoon a day, and then gradually increase it up to about a tablespoon. You only need a tablespoon a day. That's it. Too much too soon can obviously cause a digestive upset if you haven't quite got the right microbiome adjustments occurring. Now, ginger fresh is more potent than dried. So start with, smaller amounts there too, if you like. If you've got a thyroid issue and on thyroid medication, then just keep monitoring your thyroid. You might be surprised. Your thyroid medication might be working more effectively and you may need to adjust that. So make sure you're getting regular checks up there. And then, of course, quality is important. I always choose organic green tea. If I'm going to put something in my body that's like a tea, it's going to have to be organic, because you want to make sure that there's no pesticides or residues or glyphosates or anything on them, okay? We want to make sure that we're getting an unadulterated herb for its potential. And also make sure when you're choosing a fermented product, you're looking for something that doesn't have any added flavors or colorings. Fresh is best when it comes to that, and look forward to seeing how you all go in implementing sauerkraut, ginger, and green tea into your diet. So there you have it, beautiful ladies, my top 3 daily weight loss weapons backed by real science: green tea for metabolic function, ginger for thermogenic power, and sauerkraut for gut health optimization. Now, I'm going to challenge you to add all 3 of these into your diet and routine for the next 30 days and see how you feel. I'd love to hear those results, by the way. And if you want to dive in a little bit deeper to how these fit into my metabolic programs, then have a look at my program links in the show notes below. And of course, if you have any girlfriends who are struggling with weight loss, maybe share this podcast to them as well. Make sure you subscribe also so you can get all my weekly podcasts delivered on time into your inbox. And that's it for now, ladies. Sometimes we only need to add food to get more bang for buck in our metabolic function. Until next week, go and grab those cups of tea. And that's a wrap. Phew. If something clicked for you today, I've got all the links to my favourite products, supplements, and exactly where to buy them waiting for you in the show notes. No hunting required. Want more personalised support? I totally get it. This journey can be overwhelming when you're doing it all on your own. Whether you're ready to jump into my one-on-one coaching programs or test it out first in my online Metabolic Flash course, I've got your back. Just head to the show notes for the links to those pages or my website inner-alchemy.com.au and let's turn those frustrating symptoms into your comeback story. Because honestly, the best version of you isn't in your past. She's waiting on the other side of these new rules. Until next time, remember, work smarter, not harder. Thanks for sticking around. I'll see you in the next episode.